It's kind of like, I don't think you can explain to a lot of people. It's so low of lows when you're practiced up. You think you're there to win it, and then you don't do any good, or you draw that bad steer or bull or whatever it is, and then, but the day that you come out on top and you win that buckle or whatever, and you ride that high. Now the high don't stay too long because then you're wanting to win the next one,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's funny you say that though, because that's how we wrote it. Me and my buddy Dan Couch, when we wrote the song, my buddy Scott Gunner, who's done my publishing for years, he said, "You told me one time that rodeo, when you quit rodeo, and it was like a divorce." And he said,
Yeah.
and because I told him, I said I didn't want to be around it. I just engulfed myself in music. That I'm not going to pay attention to it. But he's like, you need to address that, if only for yourself. And so I said, if rodeo was the love that got away,
Right.
what would you say to her? And I
Yeah.
said I couldn't speak to her face to face. I'd have to write a letter.
Yeah.
And so the letter was, "Dear Rodeo."
Yeah.
And it's funny because back then when I was riding bulls, I was pretty immature as a kid, and I really had it in my head that was what was going to define my life.
Oh, yeah.
And I never thought about God's ability to be able to put my wife and my kids in music and this career that I have now in my
Right.
life. And so now it's funny, now that I'm team roping my butt off, I'm getting to experience Deer Rodeo all over
Right.
again, because when your horse works perfect,
Oh, yeah.
and you've chosen the perfect bit and the perfect saddle, and you're roping really good, and then you get there and you miss the third one,
Right.
and you're like,
Oh.
and it's that same feeling over and over. But the difference is the maturity level that I have now versus back then. It's not a big deal. We get to live to rope another steer,
Right.
go on down the road. I don't have that feeling now that I did back then, that it defined me.
Right. Well, and I mean, I think one as a man, and I mean, I played sports and that kind of stuff, rodeoed, and that you just want to compete. And all of a sudden you realize one day when you graduate high school, you're not good enough to compete anymore where you want to go.
Right.
And so that's where rodeo helped me to compete out there, whether we were at a jackpot down at, Billy Bob's, or you was at a big US roping or an open show or whatever. And really, Cody, hunting is the same way. I mean, you put in all this time, you've bought the best stuff, you've got the best plan for the season.
Right.
And you get just jap slapped out there. I mean, and really that is where God has come into my life a lot and worked a lot. I can sit in church obviously and I can listen to a sermon in God's word, but I can sit in a tree out there, and as I'm going after a big buck, and you know how it is, I mean, we don't get that big buck very often. But that competition of going head to head with one of them big deer, and then you finally get him. And again, now I'm like you, I've realized that whether I kill that big buck or whatever, is those sunrises, those sunsets that God's given me, our families, whether whatever we're doing. And and how do you measure success? I mean, the world measures it one way, but we've talked about it even tonight. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah, God measures success completely different. My most memorable hunts are the ones that I messed up, and the big one got away, because it was that having to go, was it really that important? It's just a
Right.
deer.
Yeah.
What was the most important part about being here?
Yeah.
And now that I've got my daughters 6 and 4 years old, hunting with them, I could care less about what we're hunting.
Yeah.
It just
Right.
getting to spend that time. And, I love to go rope and compete. I'm a very competitive person, very competitive. I want to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to be the best. But getting to go out and do that and find that tranquility when you're just at the roping pen and you're just roping steers at the house.
Yeah.
You get to kind of zero out and let all the stress and anxiety of life that, the enemy tries to put on us, let it go. Look at what we've got. Look how blessed we are. And,
Right.
I think that helps me with not putting so much importance on the 18-year-old kid that still wants to go out and be the baddest son
Right.
ever. And,
Right.
But it also, the rodeo background for me kind of helped me with my career in music. I've always told people, I don't want to be the best show you've seen this week. I want to be the best show you've ever seen. But at the end of the day, when things go wrong on stage, they don't care. Nobody
Right.
notices that. We're still getting to do what
Right.
we love for a living. And, I think it instills work ethic and appreciation for what you have. And those are two important things that money can't buy that.
Well, and Cody, one thing I've noticed about you right off is, I've said it for years, is sometimes, and I heard you talk about it tonight, you got to know who you are.
Yeah.
And I think you're a blessed man if any of us know who we are. And sometimes we got to, it's like you're in the dark. And I've seen many people, whether TV host or country western singer or whatever, they don't know who they are. So I would tell anyone that's listening to us is to find that out, not be like Cody or be like such. Find out who you are.
Yeah.
And again, whatever you do, do unto the Lord. That's what the Bible says. Whatever we do, I think that is very important. Is if you're a singer, put everything you can into it.
That's right.
Because that's what God tells us to do. And then again, just find out who you are. It's been a pleasure to watch you now from a distance, and here you are tonight. And the thing about it is, real people, they come in here around me. I mean, that's just all you're gonna get. It's real with me.
Yeah.
You either like me or you don't.
I'm the same way. I figure out real quick when I'm around people whether or not we're going to be able to hang out or not. Because I've been around those people that you talk about that nothing's ever good enough. That house ain't big enough. That car ain't nice enough. That wife ain't good enough. This ain't good. And it's like, that's just turmoil. And it seems so stressful to me I'm very appreciative to be able to breathe air and go, man, every day is good, even if it's a bad day, to remind myself I get to do what I love for a living. I've got a great family, and I've placed men around me that are influential in me in the right places. And that's more important. That's more important than any stuff or any notoriety you can get. You can't, what is it, the old saying, you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse?
Yeah, that's right. That's a lot of truth that are big time truth. Well, I mean, I don't know. I just, a lot of people might come up to you or even myself and say, man, well, y'all got this big platform. The truth of the matter is, everyone's got that.
Yeah.
Everyone's got that, what God's given them, and whatever that is. And, like I said, I live on whatever you do unto the Lord. And that's what I always tell them people. You got a platform too. You get busy, and we're here for a reason.
Yeah, you don't have to have a big microphone to have a big platform. That's something I've really worked on in my life in the last 2 years, really, is remembering that the platform that I have an opportunity to help somebody. And I'm about like you. I ain't perfect. I've got plenty of problems. Ask my wife.
Yeah, right.
And but I'm not striving to be the perfect man. I'm just trying to be the best I can while I'm here, and to be a light for somebody. Even if it's that dark and dirty place that I might find myself in, that I do get to help that guy, or if it's that day at church. There's a roping arena in Santo, Texas, and we roped there not too long ago, and there's a sign when you walk into the back of the arena, and it says, "Remember today, ropers, somewhere in this crowd a little boy wants to be just like you." And I mean, and that's a big, if we can live every day like that, whether you're hunting, whether you're on stage, I mean, you're getting to do God's work, and I think He shows favor to that. He really does.
Well, and I mean, I saw, I sat and I watched your video of, I guess you wrote a song quite a long time ago. You actually forgot about it, you said, and his name's Jesus, is that right? And I can just play that over and over, and just obviously you sing it well, but just that to me is what it's all about. And like I said, when I see your platform and you out there doing that, and in the rough world we live in, and what is suicides are up and all this stuff in this world, and there's all this negativity, and it's easy to get caught up in that. It's easy to get caught up talking about that, but here we are, and we have opportunities. Every one of us does. And
absolutely.
So your platform and seeing what you're doing, and then like I said, kind of getting back to rodeo where we started, is we're going to get in roping pen together.
Yeah, I was to say, you done messed up now. I know where you live. I'll come up here with a horse trailer.
Well, we can probably find a jackpot or two around here.
I
now.
bet we can.
It's been a while. They entered me over here in the open show here a few years ago. I hadn't roped in 6 years, and my brother comes up and says, "Hey, we got you entered. You're entered 4 times, I come out, the first one, boy, I stick one to probably be 4 and can't get a wrap. It's like churning butter,
You
just
stirred your
rusty,
chili.
yeah. And but anyway, that night we end up still winning 4th, and man, it felt good to get back out there and compete.
Man, competing's the best part of it. I rope a lot with Colby Lovell, and we were, he's probably the baddest man I've ever seen with a rope. And I'm trying to learn how to heel, and he's helping me. And I get on the heel side about 3 weeks ago, and his partner, Paul Eves, they won the world last year. And he says, "You want to know what Paul feels like on the heel side?" I said, "Sure." And he takes 2 swings, and I mean, we're fixing to be like 3 seconds. It was fast. And he takes 2 swings, and it goes right over the steer's head. And I rode down the pit, and I said, "I know what Paul feels like now." And the humility of it is the greatest thing, because it doesn't matter. That's the part I love about it. Doesn't matter who you are. That old roping or that rodeo world can humble you just like that. Yeah. But like my song "Dear Rodeo" that we talked about, I think one of the biggest things, and this is rodeo or this is life, if you let failure define you, then failure's always going to define you. If you look at failure as the good Lord giving you an open door to to try to be something better or to try to go a different direction, then failure's oftentimes it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's much more acceptable.
Well, I think turning around and looking back and learning is good, and failure is going to, again, get yourself up. It's kind of like that whole saying, if a horse bucks you off, get yourself back up and get on him and go again. That's what life is.
When you talk about the negativity in the country, everybody talks about how we're doomed and we're going backwards and it's so horrible. And man, a lot of people are fixing to have to really look in the mirror and figure out how to redefine themselves in this country. But you can't do that without asking God about it. Because I don't know how many times you've told him your plans, but it don't work.
Yeah.
I know that.
No. And I've done it many times. And, I have a testimony where Jeff Danker gets hold of the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And you don't go very far. You don't go very straight that way. And you're right. I mean, there's verses that talk about, giving it to him and letting him establish your steps. And, the thing about it is COVID, whatever you want to call it, I think it gave an opportunity. There was so much fear in the country, and still is, that it made people, even with money or success, to go, hey, this ain't going to get me out of here. And they had to turn somewhere, and then God's right there. And I mean, because that is, it ain't no story. It ain't no fairy tale. It's a deal. There's going to be heaven and hell. The Bible talks about it being a vapor here on this earth, and that is my deal. If you're around me very long, you're going to hear me talk about the good Lord. That's just, and you're going to hear me talk about hunting and whatever. But I truly believe that, Cody. 100%.
No, I recorded a documentary called Deer Rodeo that's coming out in August. It comes out, and at the end of I was proof for what me and my wife were watching. I'm proofing this film, and at the very last sentence I say in the documentary is, if they told me tomorrow, Cody, you're done singing, you got to go home to your wife and kids, I'd do it with a smile. Well, then COVID hit.
There you go.
I'm like, well, I guess I'm fixing to have to figure out whether or not what I said was true. And and I had to be content. And I did miss playing, and it did, but I did figure out it doesn't define me either. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for what He's put me here for, and it makes it a lot more comfortable. People can turn to alcohol and drugs and other things like that whenever but if they would really just look and say, what's going on? Because I don't have the plan, you do. Right. It just seems to work a little smoother, especially in my life.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I mean, I'll be 50 this year, Cody, and as a man who sometimes people look and say, man, you've had a lot of success. I mean, there's many regrets that I have that I would tell anybody with young kids is, I thought I was doing it right, but I was gone, and I was this, and I'd come in, and I would tell anybody just to be careful. Yeah. Because them little girls do grow up quick, and all of a sudden right now, I hear you talking, they're daddy's girls or whatever, and mine were too, but there was a point where I got too busy. Yeah. And I would tell anybody to just be careful with that, because we both know it, but all of a sudden, things get lined up out there, and you miss too much.
Well, that's one of the reasons we got this bus off camera over here parked that y'all can't see. That the reason I bought that bus was for my girls, so that they could come out with me whenever they wanted to. Right. And you'll see me, I'm the guy, I will fly way out of the way just to go home, just to be there to have them, just to come back out. And, that's the most important part, because at the end of the day, if I didn't have them, if I didn't have that glue, this whole thing would probably fall apart anyway, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, what, Cody, so, I think 2 years ago, John Langston came and we were with him, but really I think they were talking to you that year. Yeah. Possibly coming. I don't know exactly what happened, but, you're here. How did that all come about?
Man, my manager, Howie, asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, absolutely, I'd like to do it. Obviously I know who you are, and I pay attention to the hunting world and that the different outdoor networks as much as I can, and kind of who's who and who's doing what. And I hunt a lot. I've always said, if I'd ever had a camera around me all these years, we could have filmed so much, but some of it probably shouldn't have been on the film. But it was a no-brainer. I mean, I'm very thankful to be here. I appreciate you making me a part of this deal.
Well, and one thing about you, Cody, from rodeo to, being real and, being around somebody that can handle a rope and ride a bull, whatever, and sure enough, but the hunting deal, I mean, I was cracking up earlier, you being from Texas, you said something like, I can shoot out that truck because it's legal in Texas real quick, you said.
I'll shoot out a truck window quick. When you asked me what kind of camo I wore, I want to say Realtree, and I was like, well, it's kind of a white GMC Sierra, But I mean, it's the truth. I mean, in Texas, it's so wide open. We love to go to, I've got several friends that have exotic game ranches, and You know, whenever they get too many access or they get too many fallow, I'll take my family out there. My 6-year-old just killed her first doe this last year.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing getting to be in that stand with her and watch her do that and watch her shake and do the whole 9 yards. And my buddy Marco on the ranch where she shot it, he actually had this doe shoulder mounted. So my 6-year-old's got a shoulder mounted doe above her bed.
Awesome.
She took a little princess tiara and put it on top of the doe's head. I said, why did you get that mounted? She said, Daddy, girl deer are pretty too.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, you're right.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Yeah, those, you know, I remember Cody watching some kids shoot a deer back before I had girls and took them hunting. I thought, oh, that's all right. But then all of a sudden you start taking your girls. And those are the best hunts that I've ever, I cherish forever. And now, you know, Jaylee is the co-host of the show, and you know, she just steals the show now. I mean, it isn't now that they're, you know, Jeff Danker's daughters. They're, oh, you're Jaylee's dad.
Yeah. I have a feeling my music career could probably wind up like that pretty soon with mine.
Yeah, you'd be all right with it though, probably.
Yeah, by the time that happens, shoot,
Well, and you know, Sportsman's Channel, Outdoor Channel is, I'm sure from everywhere you've been, you know, we've always had those TV shows playing up there wherever we're at, what lodge, and you know, it's been really cool for me to be a part of that. Somebody that will stand behind us for our way of life,
right?
You know, from whatever. And so we've mentioned kind of where the world is, but I wouldn't trade where we're at. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not. There's certain people in this country like us that you're never going to be able to take those core values from, and it really doesn't matter how big of a stink anybody raises about. I mean, there's a lot of turmoil in the world right now, but if we were to just stop talking and listen, I don't hear none of it out here.
Right.
And that's kind of where I've placed my family, is off that beaten path with people like us that we don't pay attention to it. I think a lot of problems, if you don't acknowledge them, they don't exist.
So you're up on stage, Cody. I got to ask you. You know, I have a big deer come out, that big trophy that I've been whatever after for 17, 18 straight days in a row, and I know that kind of feeling, and I think you know that kind of feeling too. But the kind of feeling I don't know is 30, 40,000 people coming out there and that energy. I remember one time I took Luke Bryan's guitar out to him. They wanted me to take it out to him, and I could feel the energy up there.
Oh yeah.
It's stupid.
That's what I live for. That's my drug, is whenever when you come to a show, it's kind of weird because like I've had friends come out to show and about 20 minutes before the show, I'm like, all right, well listen, when I check out, don't make fun of me. Because I approach it as a prize fighter. I'm here to win. I'm here to conquer. And man, I get pretty intense. But the thing is when I walk out and I give that to them, and I'll tell them a lot of times, hey, I'm up here sweating just like y'all are. I'm fixing to give you every ounce of energy in my body. All I ask is that you give it back to me. And when they do, there's a sense of unity. And it's just, you know, I think that's one of the reasons, in my opinion, that's why concerts were cut out so quick during COVID, is because not only do I have a microphone to speak live, but you can be standing next to somebody that's left, right, black, or white, it doesn't matter. But you're all unifying over this one moment, watching this one guy and having fun. And you're, you don't even know the person next to you. Well, there's unity in that. And it's an energy like I can't describe. I mean, a lot of times I'll come off stage and I'll be shaking. And, you know, tears running down your eyes. You don't even know why. It's just,
so
it's
much.
indescribable.
You put it all. So let me ask you this. So after that, and you've done that, I mean, is that just a crash later that night? I mean, you put in so much energy, and it's like you've run the marathon, isn't it?
Sunday mornings, getting off the bus and trying to get my family to the church is real hard. A lot of times we go on Monday nights because Sundays after I get home, it's just, my mind is, it's draining to have that many people sucking that much energy out of you. It's rewarding. It's very rewarding, but at the same time, man, it takes a toll on you. It does. But I've been doing it for so long, I kind of feel like I have the cycle down. You know, you do it. Okay, now when's the next one? And you know, I have my home schedule where when I'm at home, I'm up early in the morning, I do my thing, and then we get out on the road, and I'm up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it is what it is. But I figured out how to keep the bags up from underneath my eyes.
Well, I can't make it Friday. I hate it. You're playing in Oklahoma City Friday, but you know they mentioned November. Now that's a tough one too. But I'm not going to promise November. It depends on what big buck I'm after. But
it'll be
I
after
tell you
dark.
what, as long as you'll have me, I'm going to promise you, I am going to. Me and Tracy are going to come to one of your concerts.
Absolutely.
And just enjoy it, and especially now knowing you, it'll be that much more fun for us.
Oh yeah, it will. Thank you for inviting me into your home.
Yes, sir.
Y'all hadn't been able to enjoy this food, but I'm having to suck it in. They have fed us so well. I appreciate you
Yeah.
and all the hospitality
Oh,
of your wife. I
absolutely.
appreciate it.